by saying thank you very much to APU for inviting me here to talk, and to my TEDx team for all of their support, and for all of you for waiting and being patient throughout this whole day as some amazing speakers have spoken before me. So what I want to talk to you a little bit about is what I believe makes us human. And as humans, we like to think of ourselves as somehow different, that we are somehow better or special or more unique than other creatures that walk on this planet. And perhaps at the centre of this notion, no other organ in our body has received more attention than our brain. Even scientists that are not connected in the medical profession understand that if we don't have a brain, our body is pretty useless. But it's not just our brain that we are fascinated by. As humans, it's more about our intelligence. We like to think that that intellect that we have is what makes us superior. These are all areas of an older, more primitive part of our brain, our limbic system. And I believe it is that combination between our cerebral cortex and our limbic system that make us who we are. Well, what happens when something goes wrong in our brains? As a psychologist and a therapist and somebody with a psychological background, I'm totally fascinated by our brains. And in fact, if you get me started on this topic, you might think that I'm a little bit, as in Japanese a word would be, otaku-like. I love it. I'm fascinated by it. But it's not just about when it's working well. What happens in our brains when they are injured or damaged or they get ill? And that is what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about mental illness and the cost of silence that is surrounding this topic and the epidemic that is going on globally around the world. I wonder if you knew that right around the world, 1 in 4 of us in our lifetime will experience a mental health problem. If you didn't, you should. And at the top 2, right, 1 in 4 of us, think about it, right? You need to know this. And the top 2 conditions are anxiety and depression. But more importantly, I wonder if you knew that 50% of all mental health problems have their onset before you're 14, and that 75% have their onset before you're 75. If you didn't know this, sorry, your onset before you're 25. If you didn't know this, you should, because many of you are in that age group. And a study just put out by the World Health Organization last year said that when they looked at university students, that period of going to university and learning and leaving your family members was an extremely stressful period, and that 1 in 5 of you in any given year is likely to experience a mental health problem. So when I look out at this audience, chances are 1 in 5 of you have a mental health problem. And I bet nobody said to you before you came to university, what should you do when you get a mental health problem? How do you make your mind healthier? What do you do when it's not well? Chances are no one spoke to you about these things, and you're trying to figure it out by yourself. Chances are you're struggling to manage it. And of the 450 million people worldwide that have a mental health problem, the majority are not in treatment. A study by a UK university in 2016 reached out and spoke to young people who had a mental health problem. They asked them what were some of the issues that they were dealing with. 25% said that they waited more than a year before they told anyone, not even their parents, that they had a mental health problem. Of those who did speak to someone, 70% of them said that they got a negative reaction when they spoke to people. When I speak to young people about mental health problems, when I've spoken to clients about mental health problems, a large majority of them say that they feel ashamed for having a mental health problem, and the majority are not in treatment. And they say that the barriers and the stigmas that they face from us, the well, are some of the biggest obstacles that they incur. When you think about that mental health problem, it's pretty strange that we, the well, are the barriers. I would love to have somebody up here talking to you about having a mental health problem. But most of the people that I would encourage or get to speak here wouldn't be brave enough, or they'd be worried about the consequences of speaking about their health issues. So I'm going to tell you about a scenario on our lifeline that is very common. And it's going to be a young person that reached out to a chat line. And they're going to reach out to a chat line because that's where young people prefer to reach out and ask for support rather than on a telephone line. And she's female. And she reaches out late on a Sunday night. And she says to the support worker, I'm not doing so well. I'm falling behind with all my classwork. And the support worker says to her, tell me a little bit more about that. And she says, well, I came to Japan about a year ago. I studied hard. I got good grades. I got a scholarship. I'm so proud of myself. And my family was so proud of me. But, you know, it's been harder than I thought. I really struggled making friends. I've struggled to keep on top of things, and I've fallen way behind. And the support worker says to her, well, have you spoken to anybody? Do you have any supports around you? And she says, well, I tried to speak out to my friends, but they just said lots of people find it difficult. You can get through it. Just try harder. Ganbatte. And she said, it didn't work. She said, there is a counsellor on the school at the university, but I'm worried if I go to them, they'll think I'm not coping. I'm worried if I go to them that my scholarship might be affected. Honestly, I think it'd be better for everybody if I just gave up, if I just wasn't here. On hearing these words, the support worker asks her, are you thinking of killing yourself? And she says, yes. She says, I think about it a lot these days. I think about it non-stop. She says, I'd be better off if I wasn't here. I'm such a burden to everyone. I'm so ashamed and such a failure. This is where she has a cognitive distortion. I understand that because she has a mental health problem. So she thinks in her cognitive distortion, she would be better off dead than getting some treatment or talking to someone about getting some help. Now that just doesn't make sense, right? So let me tell each of you about some facts about mental health. Mental health is just as real as your physical health. At that anatomical level, it's that miscommunication between your cerebral cortex, that grey matter, and your limbic system, that feeling centre of your brain. And at a chemical level, it's that unbalancing of your neurotransmitters. And I could go into all sorts of other details about what it is. What you need to know is that it's real. More importantly, what you need to know is getting treatment helps people get well, and that with support, most people get well. That not getting treatment is what's causing the problems. And that cognitive distortion that you and I have, the well have, is what I want to talk to you some more about. So imagine if a person broke their leg. They break their leg and you say to them, get up, start walking. You say to them, just be strong, walk through it, be tough. If I asked you all about that now, you'd say, don't be crazy. When a person breaks their leg, we put a cast on them. We say, we sign it. We give them crutches. We hover around them and we show them lots of support. When a person has a mental health problem, you don't give them that support. You go, oh, perhaps they're not looking like they're coping well. They're not looking so friendly or happy. I'm going to leave them alone. Maybe that will help them. What's the signal that they get? That really that they are failing, that really that they need to be doing something better. They're not feeling your support. They're feeling you don't understand, and they're feeling ashamed of their condition. Now, maybe I haven't convinced all of you, because some of you are saying, well, it's different with a broken leg. I can see a broken leg. I can't see mental health problems. I can't see a mental illness. Well, I'll put this to you. Imagine if a friend came to you with cancer. Now, just like a mental health problem, cancer will affect you no matter what your age is, no matter what your gender, what your social background is. Just like a mental health problem, cancer is a combination of your environmental issues and your genetic makeup. And just like a mental health problem, even professionals have trouble diagnosing all the different types of cancers that you can get. Imagine if you said to the person with cancer, don't get that treatment. I know that chemotherapy and that radiation therapy has so many nasty consequences. Don't get it. Do your meditation. Have a positive mindset. You can get through this. Imagine how many lives would be lost. Because we say that to a person with a mental health problem all the time. And the truth is, they're not getting better. They're dying in their thousands. Every year, 800,000 people lose that struggle with a mental health problem. And the majority, over 90% of them, had a mood disorder, depression. And the majority of those people were not in treatment. So not getting treatment is not the answer. It's not a solution. So let me tell you right now what are some of the symptoms of depression, because 1 in 4 of you could have that in your lifetime. And even if it's not you, think of all about the friends and the family members and the people around you who could get a mood disorder and that might be thinking that their life would be better off not being here and that they're a burden to you. So let's learn those signs about what depression looks like. It's that feeling that I am helpless and worthless. Our brain is in overdrive about thinking about all the negative consequences and things that we've done. And just because we did it, when we're depressed, it must be bad. Our brain is such a hungry organ, and it's using up all this energy, focusing on everything that we did that is wrong. And that's the illness. And it affects our ability to sleep. We might sleep too little or not enough. Either way, our sleep is never restful. It affects our ability to eat. Too much, not enough. Not everybody that's depressed is sad. Many of us are irritable and angry. It affects our ability to enjoy the things we once enjoyed. Right? It affects so much of our being, to concentrate and remember, of that overwhelming sense that I am worthless and I am a failure. Right? But you're not. You're just human. You're just ill. And the other thing I want you to know is that every 2 minutes, somewhere in this world, a young person takes their lives. Because you've got to remember that onset of mental health problems, 75% are happening before you're 25. And many of you are in that age category, right? And here in Japan, 57 people die every day because they have a mental health problem. And another 1,500 are attempting every day. So changing this dialogue, changing your narrative, the world's narrative, and your cognitive distortions about those myths and stigma about what is a mental health problem is what I want to encourage you all to do. Because the person with a mental health problem, they're not well. No other illness would we ask the person who's sick to try and figure out how to get well on their own. So what are some things that you could do at your university and with the people around you? You can learn about mental health problems, just like you learn about physical health problems. You can think about the way you talk about mental health problems. You can have the same language as you do when you talk about a physical health problem as you do with a mental health problem. You can have awareness days. You can have support groups. You can do a lot of different things to help those who are struggling. Of those who are struggling with a mental health problem, I say to you, try and find that strength to have the courage to ask one more person for help and support. I ask you to choose empowerment to get treatment and not to feel that you're a failure. You're not a failure. You're human. You're struggling. You have an illness. We want to help you. There are many out here who care about you and want to fix this problem. You're not alone. And with treatment, you can get through it. To all of you that's here in this audience, I want to say, can we use that intellect? Can we use that brain matter? Can we use those things that we think and we pride ourselves on to change this narrative, to change the dialogue that we have about mental health problems? Can we use that compassion to care about those that are around us who are struggling with a mental health problem? Can we change that notion? Can we change this silent epidemic and those lives that are lost and those futures and dreams that are destroyed and make something positive of this? Because together as humans, we can do lots of things. Together as humans, we can make a difference. Zero suicides is even possible if we put our minds to it. We can make a difference and we can save lives. And that's what I'm hoping that you'll do with us. And that's what I'm hoping I can make some change about. And that's what I think is the brilliance of humans. In our struggle, can we make a difference? And can we inspire each other to care about each other? So with that, I say thank you.